Hello, this is Charlotte, your host from Read Insight. Before we dive into today's discussion, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and recall the last time you felt a sharp pang of frustration or anger. Perhaps it was at the office, where you pulled 3 consecutive all-nighters for a project, only to have your manager dismiss it with a single cold remark. Or maybe it was at home, where a sincere piece of advice you gave to a loved one was met with a defensive shout of, "Stop nagging me." In those moments, a sense of injustice usually swells up inside us. We wonder why our hard work and good intentions aren't met with the respect or gratitude we feel we deserve. This struggle with human connection is, in fact, a lifelong curriculum for all of us. Today, I want to talk about a masterpiece that almost everyone has heard of and many have seen on bestseller lists for decades, but few have truly sat down to absorb deeply. That book is Dale Carnegie's classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. To be honest, in our modern world, the title can sound a bit utilitarian or even manipulative. Some might wonder if it's just a handbook on how to be smooth or how to control others for personal gain. However, when I revisited this work through the lens of a cultural curator, I realized that Carnegie wasn't writing a manual on social engineering at all. Instead, he crafted a profoundly gentle and insightful guide to social psychology. Standing as a philosopher of life, he uses countless vivid stories to show us that the barriers between people usually don't exist because we aren't smart enough, but because we are too focused on our own ego, forgetting that the person across from us is an independent individual with their own set of emotions, pride, and a desperate hunger to be seen. Imagine this scenario. Carnegie presents a very simple but striking metaphor. He says that if you go fishing, you don't bait the hook with a strawberry, even if that's your favorite food. You bait it with a worm, because that's what the fish wants. It sounds obvious, yet in our daily lives, we commit the strawberry error constantly. In communication, we are often desperate to express what I want or how I feel things should be, completely forgetting to ask, what does the other person want? Carnegie observed that the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important. This isn't mere vanity, it is a fundamental confirmation of one's existence. From a world leader to a local shop assistant, everyone wants to feel that in the eyes of others, they matter and possess value. This leads to one of the most powerful arguments in the book, the futility of criticism. Carnegie notes that even notorious criminals rarely admit they are wrong. They find myriad justifications for their actions, viewing themselves as victims of circumstance or a cruel society. If even a criminal won't accept blame, why would the people in our lives? Criticism is like a homing pigeon. It always returns to the sender. When we point out someone's mistake, we wound their pride, and once pride is hurt, the human reaction isn't reflection, it's defense and retaliation. Therefore, Carnegie suggests that instead of condemning, we should try to understand. We should ask why they did what they did. This shift from judgment to empathy is the core spiritual practice of this book. At the same time, Carnegie teaches us small details that carry immense power, such as the simple act of remembering a name. To any person, their own name is the sweetest sound in any language. In a fast-paced society like Hong Kong, where we often feel like mere cogs in a machine, if a boss, a client, or even a waiter remembers your name correctly, you suddenly feel treated as a human being rather than a number. This respect is the starting point of any real connection. Furthermore, he emphasizes sincere appreciation. Note the word sincere, this is not flattery. Flattery is hollow and false, while appreciation is a genuine discovery of a spark within another person. Even more interesting is Carnegie's exploration of the art of persuasion. He argues that the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. This sounds counterintuitive. When we believe we hold the truth, we want to debate loudly and prove the other person wrong. But winning an argument often means losing the person. Even if you prove they are wrong, their wounded ego will only make them cling more stubbornly to their original position. True influence isn't about imposing your will, it's about making the other person feel that the idea was theirs. This requires immense wisdom and patience, asking for their opinion, guiding their thoughts, and reaching a consensus. It isn't deception. It is the highest form of respect for another's intelligence. This makes us wonder, in our digital age, where communication tools are more advanced than ever, why do we feel more distant? We argue over politics and values online, everyone desperate to be right, but few are willing to pause and listen to the other person's story. Carnegie's perspective feels like a refreshing antidote today. He reminds us that everyone is the protagonist of their own life drama, and if we want to enter their script, we must learn to be the best possible audience. Speaking of which, I want to share a thought on the smile. Carnegie says a smile costs nothing but creates much. In the high-pressure environments of Hollywood or the financial districts of Central, what a weary person needs most is a genuine smile from a stranger. It isn't just politeness, it's an exchange of energy. When you smile at the world, you are signaling, I am friendly, I am safe, and I am willing to connect. This emotional contagion is what Carnegie believed could soften the hardest of hearts. In the latter half of the book, he touches on the essence of leadership. A true leader doesn't rule through power, but leads through inspiration. He advocates for calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly and talking about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. This humility of leading by example is often more effective than any rigid set of rules. If we can set aside our ego and admit that we are also flawed humans, the other person lowers their guard and becomes willing to grow with us. Ultimately, I would summarize the essence of this book as the practice of empathy. How to win friends and influence people isn't about people-pleasing. It's about stepping out of your own world and into someone else's. When you start to see the world from another's perspective and genuinely care about their well-being, the world around you changes. Sharp conflicts become rounded, and difficult relationships become harmonious. How do we apply this? Simple. Next time you are about to lose your temper or point a finger, stop for 3 seconds. Ask yourself, if I were in their shoes, under the same pressure, how would I act? Or try to sincerely compliment someone today, someone you usually overlook, and watch their reaction. More importantly, notice the change in yourself. Life is a journey of connection. Carnegie isn't just teaching us social skills, he is teaching us the art of living. When we learn to respect the weaknesses in human nature and fill those gaps with love and tolerance, we don't just win friends. We win a deeper, warmer version of ourselves. So, after listening today, is there someone in your life who you haven't sincerely appreciated in a long time, or someone you owe an empathetic hug? Perhaps today is the day to take that step. If you find something interesting in practicing these methods, feel free to share your thoughts with me. I'm Charlotte from Read Insight, and I'll see you next time.